Some people seem to move through life quietly but with purpose. They don't try to stand out, but they do. Something about the way they speak, think, or even stay silent leaves others curious. That's often the INFJ, and when they're highly intelligent, that difference becomes even more noticeable. The INFJ is already rare. They make up a small percent of the population, but their presence feels larger than that. What makes them even more unique is how their mind works. They don't just think clearly, they think deeply. They don't just react, they reflect. And while others focus on the moment, the INFJ sees 10 steps ahead. Because of this, highly intelligent INFJs often confuse people. Their decisions don't always make sense at first. They may appear distant, intense, warm, or unreadable, all within the same day. But it's not confusion on their part. It's calculated. It's who they are. And it all comes from how their intelligence works through the INFJ lens. They're not driven by status or attention. They're driven by meaning. They want to understand themselves, others, and the world. And they're willing to go deep, very deep, to figure it out. That's why their actions often seem different. They're not trying to match what others are doing. They're following something more internal, something stronger. In this video, we're going to break down 6 powerful reasons why the highly intelligent INFJ seems to act differently from everyone else. These traits aren't just quirks. They're reflections of a mind that's wired to observe, question, and feel all at once. If you've ever wondered why certain people seem off in the best way, or if you've felt that way yourself, this may give you answers. Let's take a closer look at what really sets them apart. Sign 1. Deep introspection and self-awareness. Highly intelligent INFJs spend more time in their own mind than most people ever will. But it's not daydreaming or zoning out. It's intentional. They reflect, analyze, and constantly scan their own thoughts and behaviors. They want to know why they feel the way they do, why they reacted that way, why certain things matter more than others. This constant introspection isn't just a habit, it's how they grow. They think back on conversations and pick apart every detail, not to judge themselves, but to understand. They wonder if they spoke with kindness, if they missed something in the other person's tone, if their silence was honest or just fear. Because they look inward so often, they make decisions differently. They won't always go with the flow or take the easy path. Instead, they'll step back, think deeply, and move forward only when it feels right. And that may confuse others who expect fast or typical responses. This inner work also gives them emotional control. They're aware of their triggers. They know when they're projecting, when they're tired, or when they're reacting out of past pain. So they pause, they breathe, and they often choose responses that are far calmer and wiser than expected. People might think they're distant or disconnected, but that's not the case. They're present, just in a different way. They're constantly running emotional and mental checks inside their own head. And that process takes time. Highly intelligent INFJs also hold themselves to a quiet but high standard. Not perfection, but alignment. They want their thoughts, words, and actions to match. So when they feel out of sync, they pull back and work through it alone. This makes them seem unpredictable, but really, they're just realigning with their own sense of truth. This constant checking in with self also makes them slow to speak or act in high-pressure moments. They don't jump in unless they're sure. They don't give advice unless it comes from clarity. And they don't fight just to win. They fight when it means something. That careful internal system keeps them honest, even when it's uncomfortable. This kind of self-awareness is exhausting at times, but it gives them an edge. They don't just know what they want, they know why they want it. They don't just feel pain, they understand the source. That depth shapes their every move, and it's why they seem to act on a level most people don't expect. Sign 2. Unique communication style. One thing people notice about INFJs, especially highly intelligent ones, is how they speak. They don't use too many words, but when they do talk, people listen. It's not volume or showmanship that draws others in. It's depth, it's precision, it's emotional truth. INFJs are not fans of small talk. They can do it if they have to, but they'd rather skip the surface and go straight to what matters. They're more interested in why someone feels a certain way than what someone did over the weekend. They want conversations that explore, not just pass the time. Highly intelligent INFJs take this even further. They think before they speak. They pause. They choose their words carefully. They often wait until the right moment to say something meaningful. And when they do, it's often exactly what the other person needed to hear. This kind of speech can make them seem mysterious or intense. Some people feel seen, others feel exposed. That's because INFJs often reflect back what's really going on, even if no one else dared to say it. They also tend to speak in layers. Their words carry more than one meaning. They might say something simple, but underneath, there's an emotion, a pattern, or a deeper idea being communicated. The person listening might not catch it all right away, but they feel it. That's the INFJ's subtle power. They're also great at matching their tone to the person they're speaking with. If someone is hurting, the INFJ becomes soft and open. If someone is defensive, they speak calmly and directly. They adjust not to manipulate, but to connect. This doesn't mean they always explain themselves fully. In fact, they often hold back parts of what they know, not because they're hiding, but because they're protecting. They know their words carry weight, so they only speak the full truth when they feel the other person can receive it. Their writing often has the same effect. It's clear but emotionally rich, logical but layered with feeling. Whether it's a short text or a deep message, the intelligent INFJ writes like they think, with care, insight, and purpose. Their communication isn't always fast, but it's always intentional, and that's what makes them stand out. While others rush to be heard, INFJs wait until they have something real to say, and then say it in a way that sticks. Sign 3. Strong value system. Highly intelligent INFJs don't just live by rules, they live by values. These aren't borrowed ideas or beliefs they picked up from others. These values are personal, shaped by deep thought, pain, experience, and reflection. And once they're set, INFJs rarely break them. This is one of the most defining traits of an evolved INFJ. They won't go against what feels morally or spiritually right, no matter how tempting or convenient the alternative might be. They listen to that quiet voice inside, even when it costs them popularity, comfort, or even relationships. That commitment can make INFJ seem different, even difficult. In a world where people bend to fit in, the INFJ often chooses to stand alone. If something doesn't sit right with them, they won't just go along. They'll pull away. They'll stay silent, or they'll walk out. This can confuse or frustrate others. Why won't they just do what everyone else is doing? Why can't they let it go? But to the INFJ, compromising their values feels like losing themselves. And for someone this self-aware, that's not a price they're willing to pay. Highly intelligent INFJs also use their values to guide decisions big and small. Whether it's choosing a job, setting a boundary, or ending a friendship, they check in with their core beliefs first. Is this honest? Is it kind? Is it aligned with who I'm trying to become? This kind of clarity doesn't always make life easy, but it does make life honest. And that honesty creates a quiet kind of power. People may not always understand the INFJ, but they often respect them, because even when they disagree, they know the INFJ means what they say and says what they believe. This integrity also protects the INFJ from manipulation. When someone tries to guilt them, flatter them, or push them in a direction they don't want to go, their values act like a filter. If it doesn't align, they won't go there. And no amount of pressure can change that. INFJs may come off as flexible or gentle at first, but when a core belief is challenged, that's when their strength shows. They become firm, quiet but firm, and that moment often surprises people who thought they were easy to sway. This strength isn't cold, it's clear. And it's one more reason why highly intelligent INFJs behave differently. They're not led by trends. They're not pushed by fear. They're guided by something deeper, and that makes them powerful in their own way. Sign 4. Preference for solitude. INFJs need time alone, not just to rest, but to think. For most people, solitude is something they avoid. For INFJs, especially those with deep intelligence, solitude is necessary. It's where they find clarity. It's where they recharge. And it's where they become themselves again. When life gets loud or people get overwhelming, INFJs retreat. They go quiet. They disappear into books, walks, music, or simple stillness. This is often misunderstood. People may think the INFJ is avoiding them or being cold, but in truth, the INFJ is coming home to themselves. In solitude, they reflect on conversations, ideas, and emotions. They piece together what happened and what it means. They heal, they plan, they reset. Their inner world is rich and active, but it needs space. Without time alone, they feel scattered, drained, and off balance. Highly intelligent INFJs use solitude differently than others. It's not just downtime, it's deep time. They solve problems in silence. They uncover truths when the noise stops. Many of their biggest realizations don't come in conversation, but in quiet moments when their intuition can finally be heard. This makes them act differently in group settings. They may seem distant or overly private. They don't jump into group chats or constant hangouts. It's not that they don't care. It's that they value presence, and presence takes energy. So they save it for the moments that truly matter. When they do engage socially, it's often one-on-one or in meaningful ways. Afterward, they pull back, not because anything went wrong, but because that's how they recover. It's their version of balance. The need for solitude also makes them more thoughtful. They take time to process instead of react. They consider the full picture before speaking, and they rarely make decisions in a rush. All of this starts in their time alone. Solitude doesn't mean sadness for them. It means growth. And once they've learnt this about themselves, they protect their alone time like it's sacred. Because to an INFJ it is. Sign 5. High empathy and emotional intelligence. INFJs don't just notice emotions, they absorb them. Walk into a room with a highly intelligent INFJ, and they've already picked up on who's stressed, who's hiding something, and who's pretending to smile. This isn't just being sensitive. It's high-level emotional tracking. They're not reading minds. They're reading energy, tone, body language, silence. INFJs are tuned in to emotional undercurrents that most people miss. And the smarter they are, the more they know how to use that information with care. They rarely react right away. Instead, they watch, they listen. They test the emotional temperature of the moment before responding. This gives them a strong sense of timing. They know when to speak, when to pause, and when to let silence do the talking. People often feel like INFJs just get it. They open up without meaning to. They feel heard in ways they've never experienced. That's because INFJs don't just hear what's said, they hear what's meant. And they respond with calm, respect, and honesty. This level of empathy can make INFJs unpredictable. One moment they seem quiet and guarded. The next, they're offering emotional insight that hits the heart. That shift throws people off. But it comes from the INFJ's inner balance. They give when they feel safe, and hold back when they don't. Their empathy also makes them careful with their words. They know how much words can hurt or heal, so they speak with purpose. Even in conflict, they try to understand the other person's emotions before reacting. They're not interested in drama or attention. They're interested in resolution, in peace, in truth, and their emotional intelligence helps them guide others gently toward those goals. This is another reason they act so different. They don't just respond, they respond with awareness. They don't guess, they feel. And they don't push, they invite. That's the INFJ emotional signature. Subtle, deep, powerful. Sign 6. Visionary thinking. Highly intelligent, INFJs don't just think about what's happening now. They're always thinking ahead. They see where things are going, emotionally, socially, or personally, long before others do. This ability to look beyond the moment is what sets them apart. It's not guesswork. It's intuition, logic, and pattern recognition working together. While others focus on short-term goals or what's directly in front of them, INFJs are asking deeper questions. What will this choice lead to? What's the hidden message behind that decision? Where is this relationship heading? This kind of thinking leads them to make unusual choices that may not make sense right away, but almost always make sense later. Their vision isn't just about the future, it's also about understanding the deeper layers of the present. They often see how past behavior connects to current problems. They can track emotional patterns across years. They can feel when someone is on the verge of burnout, even if that person acts fine. And they adjust their actions based on what's coming, not just what's happening now. This future-focused mindset makes them cautious with commitments. They don't jump into things just because they're exciting. They ask themselves, will this still matter to me in a year? Is this aligned with who I want to become? That kind of foresight can look like hesitation, but it's actually wisdom. It also shows in how they solve problems. INFJs don't always go for the obvious fix. They want a solution that addresses the real issue, the emotional, spiritual, or relational root. They think in systems, not just symptoms. And because of that, they often solve problems others didn't even know were forming. Their long-term thinking also keeps them grounded during chaos. While others are reacting emotionally, INFJs are already thinking about recovery, repair, or renewal. They may stay quiet during conflict, not because they don't care, but because they're already seeing a path forward. This visionary thinking can feel isolating. Not everyone wants to hear what's coming. Not everyone is ready for deep insight. But the INFJ doesn't force it. They simply hold that vision and act accordingly. If you found yourself thinking less about what's trending and more about what's true, if you've learned to think beyond the moment and see into people's patterns, that's not just growth. That's INFJ vision in motion. Now you know why the highly intelligent INFJ doesn't act like everyone else. It's not about trying to be different. It's not about standing out. It's about staying true to themselves, to their insight, and to the deeper patterns they see in the world around them. They think before they act. They reflect before they speak. And they feel more than they show. This mix of self-awareness, emotional depth, and forward vision creates behavior that many people can't easily explain. But if you understand how their mind works, it all makes perfect sense. They aren't led by ego or trends. They're led by purpose. They say no when others say yes, not out of rebellion, but out of inner alignment. They step back when something feels off, even if everyone else rushes in. They speak less, but say more. And in every move, there's intention. INFJs are wired for depth. They process information, emotion, and energy at a high level. And when that's paired with high intelligence, their path becomes even more unique. They live slowly but see clearly. They speak softly but carry strong insight. This is why they can't be easily copied. Why people sense something different about them, even when they can't name it. It's not just personality. It's depth. And that depth has been earned through thinking, feeling, hurting, and healing. If you are a highly intelligent INFJ, or evolving into one, know that your quiet difference is not a weakness. It's a strength. You don't need to act like everyone else. You just need to keep being true to what you see, feel, and know. Because that is where your power lives.